Not to fear, we have a solution. A show where you can learn the art of dispute. Filmed under the glorious technicolor of rainbows and rifles, with a cast of teddy bears armed with switchblades. Where both the opinions and the adult beverages are strong. Tune in, turn on, and comment your giddy hearts out. We're going live in
3, 2, 1, action!
Welcome to the Art of Dispute, the only place you can be friended and offended all in the same doggone hour, because that's just how we roll. We got a problem in America, Chris.
We have a huge problem, Joe.
Tell us all about it, Chris.
Oh, yeah, you know it. We've been online and you expressed your opinion, and next thing you know, someone's out there ready to beat you up over it. We call it the zero to Nazi effect, and this is what our show's here today, to teach the civil part of the dispute.
Absolutely. The zero to Nazi effect is that length of time it takes to go from zero to you're a Nazi. I will now punch you in the face and go outside and set fire to your car. Well, we've got it fixed, like Chris said. It's this show and nice wine.
A little bit of beer.
Yeah, and a little bit of beer. That's right, a little bit of beer. Which is a good time to thank our sponsors. First of all, CM Art from our man over here, Chris Minamyer. Some amazing artwork. To Go 7 Life Insurance. Wow.
Mr. Joe himself.
That's right. The Grain Cellar out in Umble, Texas.
Thank you for the booze. That's right.
Provides this lovely beverages.
And all things fermented.
That's right. Phil and Derek's Wine and Jazz Bar in Midtown. Awesome place. Check it out. Nicole Thology with eXp Realty. And our brand new sponsor. You guys definitely got to check these guys out. I'm going to be their first customer. You can check them out at mycablebillstinks.com. Oh. Can you figure out what they do? Right? My Cable Bill Stinks. Yeah, I mean, like over 5,000 channels for $39 a month. No no contracts, nothing. It's month to month. Amazing, really amazing service. MyCableBillStinks.com. You can get a free 24-hour trial to check it out. So there you go.
Very cool.
Well, we got an interesting topic for you guys today. I'm actually really excited to chat about this one, and it's posted up in the group. There's a big discussion on it. You can still chime in on it over there. And the question is today, if equality is the goal, should groups that segregate be allowed? Short, bald, white man in vest club. Right? Right? Currently one member, but, enthusiastic. I gotta recommend that group. You guys check it out.
He's trying to get me to join, but I don't like my hair.
I can't get him to shave. So, yeah. So, should those kind of groups be allowed? Groups that segregate based on color, based on race, based on some specific identity. Should they be allowed to exist if we're trying to accomplish equality? So, we're going to talk about that on the show today. But before we dive in, we have an exorbitant pay package for our guests. That basically consists of one shameless plug and all the booze they can drink. So, Here
we are.
So we're going to let them introduce themselves and give a little quick promotion of whatever they want to plug. So take it away, Jonathan.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Fleissner. I work with a group here in Houston called Comedy Hub Houston. You can follow us on all the normal social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're a comedy enterprise that works with stand-up comedy as well as sketch comedy. We're really trying to bring more national talent to Houston is a big goal, and also to establish the sketch and improv scene here in Houston to be competitive. Right now we're basically exporting all of our talent to Chicago, New York, Los Angeles. And instead of doing that, we would like to, focus here on Houston and bring other people to Houston.
We're going to talk more.
Yes, we are.
We are absolutely going to talk more. We're passionate about local art, local musicians.
Local
that's
venues.
That's why we have on every show artists and musicians. So we are going to start working in comedians as a regular on the deal.
That sounds like fun.
And if anyone wants to come out and wants to get involved, we have an open mic on Tuesday nights at Midtown Bar and Grill.
Right on.
At 8 p.m. every Tuesday. At Wednesday at Liberty Station. At 9 o'clock.
Liberty Station.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah, that's us. And then we also have a partnership with the Rec Room downtown, by Minute Maid Park, and we're doing shows there like every week now on Friday or Saturday night. That are more showcase shows. And in April, we're actually bringing Roast Battle, the Jeff Ross show, here to Houston with.
Nice.
It's going to be at Rockefeller's, so
All right.
hope you guys get a chance to check
What's
it out.
What's the link to your Facebook group?
It's just Comedy Hub Houston. And so you can find it on Facebook or Instagram, and we post all of our information on there.
It'll be on the screen,
Right
somewhere.
here.
Yeah. Kate.
Hey y'all, I'm Kate Davis. I'm a graphic designer and brand designer for Crescent Creative Group. It's Crescent like the moon creative group, and we essentially design branding. We do strategy. We create all of your brand elements and some web design stuff for small businesses in Houston. We like to work with designers, purse designers, floral designers, jewelry designers, whoever. Those are some of my favorite clients to work with. So if you need some branding, or you're just starting out in the first few years of business, you kind of have a temporary logo, but you want something a little more official and you want to really put together a strategy for moving your business forward, you can find us on Facebook. Instagram is kind of my portfolio, so that's fun. And then, of course, my website, crescentcreativegroup.com.
We'll have one of those on the screen, at least.
Yeah.
The website, preferably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Crescent
You
Creative
can
Group.
always reach out to us.
Nice touch. Kate.
Thanks.
Yes. Jake.
Oh, hi, my name is Jake Fu. I have a Dodo International Art Center. It's a place where artists can show their work. And I'm an origami artist and illustrator and TV producer and film entrepreneur. We're trying to make it Houston become more entertainment welcome besides Hollywood or Atlanta. So I'm happy to be here and excited to join this group tonight.
Fantastic.
If we wanted to find you, where would we find
Oh
you?
yeah, you can find us on Facebook, Dodo International Art Center, and you can find us there, tell you all the detail what we do, events, exhibit, and open to everybody, Yeah, you're not artist,
Very
you're
cool.
even more welcome. We have classes teaching people how to be a painter or be an actor and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
coolest
class.
origami stuff. We have Chris is wearing a pig because it's the year of the
It's the year
pig.
of the pig.
Yeah, and just really cool stuff. I'm gonna try to be able to zoom in on that at some point during the show.
Thank you.
But really cool stuff. So it is now a permanent part of our set. So
Thank
This
you.
dragon's name is not Joe. Dang it, I was going to say Joe. It was off the fly. This dragon's name is Sam.
Sam the dragon. All
Sam the
right,
dragon.
there we go. So, all right, this is going to be the part of the show. And as always, none of the guests get to know the topic before they arrive. So this is just right off the cuff for these guys responding to this subject and giving us their thoughts.
Like
What do y'all,
life.
just like your life.
Just like normal life.
Yes, just like normal life. That's right. So what do you guys think? Kind of give me your 1 minute bullet point. What's your summary thought on this? If equality is the goal, if that's what we're shooting for as a society, right? Should groups that form based on a color, based on a gender, or some specific identity exist? I use the short bald white guy's vest wearing group. That's all the folks we would we identify together. That's our culture. Just short white guys wearing vests, hanging out.
Who are bald.
Who are bald.
You forgot that.
Right? Yeah. It's a
Very
small.
specific group.
Yeah, it's a small but very specific group.
Right.
So.
Very well respected.
Yes. If I must say so myself, a very well respected group.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that I guess the question is if equality is the goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the goal? I don't know. I mean, I think.
Hey, you stole my answer. That's not fair. That's not fair.
But I think that the groups. So certain groups are going to definitely appeal to certain people because they're maybe it's a group that focuses on a marginalized part of society, whether it could be like the battered women's club or something, right, or the gun-toting bearded man's club, right? Like it's
Proud member.
But I think that as long as
Right here.
I think that as long as the group isn't that exclusive to where someone couldn't join if they didn't want to. like let's say a woman wanted to join the bearded,
The
gun-toting,
the
balded,
go-
whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever group, right?
Yeah.
Should they be allowed to join? I don't know. I think it's important that those groups exist, right? Because they serve a function and they talk to each other about their culture and they might whatever their agenda is. And then there's there's a freedom of choice there and freedom of speech and a way of approaching it. But yeah, fundamentally, all those things are sexist and racist, and they do segregate. So they are prejudiced. So
There we go. Ooh, dang! They're bringing the heat. Getting so hot. I wonder what they're gonna say. Stick around. Let's find out.
Are you tired of overpaying for TV? Are you sick and tired of getting charged extra for every package you like? Charged extra for sports channels. Charged extra for local channels. Even charged extra for all of your favorite movie channels. Well, you don't have to take it anymore. There is a better option. All of your favorite sports channels, premium channels, movie channels, international channels, and more. With no credit checks, no contracts, and over 5,000 channels for one low price. Watch from your Fire Stick, computer, smartphone, and more. Visit mycablebillstinks.com today for your free trial.
All right, that's the show. So
That's it?
Yeah.
See y'all next week.
Sorry.
Yes. Yeah. So, Kate, what do you think?
I think there's definitely a time and a place for them. I think that there is something to be said for wanting to surround yourself by people who you fit the same category, I guess. So I personally love working with women. I said earlier I love working with designers. Does that mean I'm exclusive and don't have any male clients? No. So no, I'm not going to say that I'm super exclusive in that. But I think that there's also a time and a place where it serves its purpose to surround yourself by those people. So I think that it's okay for them to exist. I think that there's also a time and a place where they should they should coexist and they should intermingle and they should be able to group the bald men's group with the single women's group and the this group and the that group, and we come together for one big party. I don't know. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that's my consensus.
Okay. Jake?
Oh, well, for me, equality is almost like a world peace. It's never going to be achieved. So for me, I think it's just everybody allowed to do everybody what they wanted to do. You know, instead of trying to say I have to be cross over everyone, I have to be equal to everybody. So you have the right and equal the opportunity to do what you want to do. I think that equality to me is more important than worry about I'm going to join a beer man group, which I can grow a beer. Yeah.
All right. Well, I have a question already. So, you said that they are fundamentally sexist and racist by nature.
it can be if it's
Right.
depending on your group, the specific group.
Right. The white man's bald
Right.
vest wearing group.
Right.
Right.
Then you have race and
I've
gen-
covered
and
all
gender.
the
Yeah.
bases, yeah, and a specific identity of vest wearing.
Right.
So, right.
Right.
So I've got all of them covered, right?
Christian.
So my
Christian.
right, yes, you throw in a religion in there, right? Absolutely, the white Christian bald vest wearing men's group.
Men's group,
Yeah. So if the groups are inherently by their nature either sexist or racist in design, are you guys comfortable with saying that you are comfortable with sexism or racism at some point?
And I think as the time grow on, eventually everything gonna merge into everybody. You know, like a different racial marriage into each other. Equality maybe sounds like very important today, in the future, eventually, fundamentally, all these things gonna change.
I actually very much agree with that. There will simply be no
Right.
bald white guys to be in the group. And it's just going to be a dwindling crowd over time because everybody's going to be, the tan white guy
Yeah.
group. You know?
Well, I disagree. I think we'll all be beige and bald and living underground. Mold people.
Right? No, I agree. I think we are all going to be beige. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
No.
Hairless might be a different thing, but yeah.
So your question was, are we then comfortable with sexism or racism at some
Yeah.
level?
Are you saying then
that,
that there's an okay time to be sexist? There's an okay time to be racist?
Well, think about it. I mean, you have, let's say, groups like, I'm just make some up. I'm sure they exist, but like, let's say the Young African American Women's Entrepreneurs Group, or you know what I mean. Obviously, that's a beneficial group for those ladies to be a part of, so they can help uplift each other and you know,
Like-minded people getting
yeah,
together.
they're like-minded, and hopefully that they'll give each other the resources to be successful. But then, of course, you have the flip side, which is what if it's the you know, young trust fund white male, you know, group,
Yeah.
young entrepreneurs group.
Yeah.
Well, then people go, oh, well, that's only helping out the majority. You know what I mean? So I think people have a problem with that. They're okay.
It's
to,
like it's as long as the segregation or the racism or the sexism is for the underdog. Then it's okay.
Then it's okay. But if it's for the group that's already, you know, holding power or whatever, then that seems to be where society has a problem with it, right?
Yes.
Well, I think that it has to do more with, I guess, the intention, right? So if the group is together because we're like-minded entrepreneurs and we're, you know, wanting to
In your
achieve a common
neighborhood,
goal.
they're around you.
Yeah, we're wanting to achieve a common goal of growth or a common goal of expansion or knowledge or whatever these positive lights are, then people are not going to have an issue with it because, oh, they're just a bunch of, you know, Black women who are business-minded and want to improve their businesses in their culture, right? But on the flip side of that, if someone is getting together and stealing cars, like your one episode was an example, then obviously that's a negative light. So I don't think it has so much to do with the prejudice or the exclusivity of a group or the equality of these things, but the intention or the mission or the purpose of those things.
So let me follow up then with another question. Because I think that there is an inherently flawed thinking process in any group that segregates or based on any of these categories. I think we can approach every goal that group wants to approach in equality. Mm-hmm. So in other words, you said the Young African American Women's Business Group, right? Entrepreneurs Group, right? What are they trying to accomplish ultimately, apart from that is their sex and their race?
Exactly, business.
Right. They're trying to accomplish entrepreneurship. Right. The skill set involved in increasing business doesn't care about sex or race.
Right.
It's a skill set that applies to everybody equally. And so there is no point or need to identify any one of those.
Such,
right? To label it as such. Why not just be the entrepreneurs group?
Right.
And everybody's welcome.
Right.
Because for me, underneath all of that is a broken thinking. I'm like, if we all fix, as an entire people, as a human race, if we all fix our thinking, then we would just say that we don't accept this thinking anywhere it shows up. Whether it's the majority group or the minority group or otherwise, we would all think in equal terms all the time. And anytime we see unequal thought being existing, we all call it out because it's broken thinking.
You know, that's the whole question about, like, is equality always the goal, though? Because then you have...
That was so my question beforehand. I asked that question.
Well, because then you have groups that the freedom of choice for a group to exist, right?
Yeah.
You know, is it disruptive of that goal? Because let's say that equality is great. You know what I mean? And everyone wants that. Everyone wants that, right?
Let's theorize that this is a good thing.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, not that I'm saying it is, but
right. Well, we want equal opportunity or whatever. But in the end, I mean.
Yeah, let's go down that road and discuss equality for a second.
Well, just discuss what it is or what it.
No.
Whether it's a good thing.
Whether it's a good thing or not. Yeah.
Well, it is a good thing. But I'm saying, like, let's say that. Does that mean? Does that mean that? That, you know, that these certain groups, you know, as Americans, I think we you know, are super happy to have all the freedom that we can have, right?
Right.
That other countries don't necessarily get. So part of that is letting people make decisions to be in groups that are maybe specific or non-inclusive, right? And that's a freedom, right?
Well,
That's
for the reason they creating those minority group is to create an equal opportunity on a competitive job market and a business. So you don't have American people in the job market. They wasn't being noticed. So when they creating a group to creating more noticed. So when they go out to compete with other
Like a
agent groups,
branding.
right, kind of thing. So they are using the group, are creating a way to equalize their majority, to creating a balance. So those groups, they kind of specifically created just for that people, race or gender or age or group. So they can have a priority to rest already existed to creating a balance. So, but in a way, it's kind of funny how that creating a small equal group to fight a big equal group to make a balance. So overall, still, the reason they created those specific group is quite creating equality to those entrepreneur groups.
The point that you made, I think, is that if you just had an entrepreneur group, right, or we're using that as the example,
Yeah,
right.
versus a specific racial or gender-based group, right, that's more segregated or prejudiced, it seems like it would be fundamentally more successful, right, because you don't have to worry about picking, you're getting the best and brightest minds, right, of all overall, right?
Can we introduce a different example just
Yeah,
to see if
absolutely
it goes
not.
the same way? So my thought there, I'm ignoring your sarcasm. My thought with I don't know why this just popped in my head when you were explaining that example, but I think that maybe there are times when having the exclusivity of a small group that's not just open to entrepreneurs, for example, is important. And my example that comes to mind is, say there's a group for a certain life experience that someone goes through, and they join kind of a support group per se.
Sure.
So maybe it's abused women, or maybe it's
That's
like
kinda where
a
I was
bunch
going
of
with
a
the
bunch of
trust
people who they've been in an accident that then paralyzed them or caused like affected their lives in some way. So they're joining kind of a support group.
I would say the same thing even
to-
about culture, because
Right.
because you can communicate much faster with the same culture
Because you
because
understand
you
what you're
understand
going
where
through.
they're coming from and how they communicate and how you.
So I can
communicate.
see this side of it
So
where
when you said it'd be more beneficial to have more people, well, a lot of the times that just becomes more clouded. It becomes you don't understand what the goal is anymore.
because
You
then
don't
me
understand
being a
what
baby
people are
business
saying.
owner are in the same group as you being in business for the last 20 years, and I don't know how you
And I
created.
benefit very little from having you in my group.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So maybe there are
So-
times when the exclusivity is important.
So we've got to take a break. That's a great pause moment right there.
Cha-ching.
And there's going
I
to be
can
some
phrase my question, which
there's
is
some
like-
comments we've got to get to our audience who has some questions or comments already on this subject that I want you guys to address when we come back from break. So we're going to be right back after a quick word from one of our sponsors and take your comments. All right, so we have a great conversation going right now. We've got a really good topic. I really enjoy this topic. A lot of good dialogue. And if you're just tuning in, today we are talking about the whole idea of groups that exist that are segregated based on a race or gender or some identity that they are associating with. Should those groups exist? If equality is our goal, and I think that's an interesting part of the question. If equality is our goal, should groups that segregate be allowed? Should they exist? And so we've already had some questions posed in the group. I think we may have one of those ready to go. Yep. So I'm going to toss this out for you guys. We're seeing it all for the first time here. Jake Lass. Jake is a regular member in our group page, which, by the way, if you are not in our group page, you need to be in our group page. Thousands of members posting. We have 15 to 20,000 comments a month happening over there, so it's a lot of fun. Busy page. Yep,
always
absolutely.
getting better over there.
Yeah, it's really awesome. It's really awesome. So Jake is a regular member in the group over there. Jake's comment was, 2 men with different skin colors are much more alike than a man and a woman with the same skin color. Thus, I tend to support segregation between genders, but almost none between races. Now, whether I think voluntary racial segregation will ever go away is a whole other conversation. So that's kind of an interesting point. He said, when it comes to race, there's really not a lot of difference between these groups just based on skin tone. Right? But there's definitely a lot of difference between male and female. And so he's a little more tolerant of groups based on sex difference, but much less so when it comes to skin color.
I can agree with that. I would say that if you were to just take out the word race and replace it with the word culture, then I would disagree. But solely focusing on skin tone, I can agree with that.
All right.
Well, I mean, I think that, the main question is, if equality is the goal, then that still doesn't work, right? If you still have a problem with all right, he says that he can understand differences he can understand segregation in groups that are by gender but not by race, right? Well, that still has an issue with equality, right? Because that's where you get into
the sports analogy we used earlier.
Yeah, where you're heading with this point.
Well, with sports, that's another great segue, right? Because obviously there's not equality. There isn't always going to be equality, right? So there was that example. Here's an example. There was Serena Williams was in a tennis match. I forget against the guy's name, but he was like 203rd in the world. Yeah. Male tennis player, right? And she was #1 female tennis player in the world.
Just dominating. Cleaning
right,
house.
She was destroying everyone. She lost that match like 6-1. She won 1 set out of 6 against the 203rd male player.
He's not even
he's not 10%. Yeah. And it just, there's not going to be equality always because he was just bigger, stronger, serve faster, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And there's even to a kind of a weird subset of that because it occurs way less, but there's been now the transgender issue where men have transitioned and compete in a female sport. Yeah. Fallon Fox, for instance, in MMA. Right. And a poor MMA. He's not really that good.
Yeah, he was destroying.
People. But just crushing. I mean, actually shattered the orbital eye socket in this female that he fought because his body structure was still male. There is a difference in body structure that is just genetically and biologically inarguable. It's science. It's not like we're trying to say you're not equal. There's just differences in the body structure.
Well, I think that's also something that has to be talked about when you get into stuff like that, because you have, there's a small margin of people that compete in MMA, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, we're not saying that all men are stronger than all women.
No, right.
Untrue. Most of those women would beat
me. I have sparred me. Yeah. I personally have sparred in MMA or in fighting against women that would beat me.
Of course.
But I know those people.
But for that small group that does compete, that is athletic, there's the men are going to be stronger and larger, and that's where you have the question is like, okay, so is equality good there? Right? Should they be facing each other? Because is the American public okay with watching even if it's a transgendered female, right? Or a Fallon Fox or whatever? Is the American public okay with watching that person beat another woman down?
Here's an interesting one, right? He said much less so, between color of skin. Well, we talked about this. I forget what show it was on, but for instance, in the African American male, fast twitch muscle fiber.
I was going there.
Genetically, they have more fast twitch muscle fibers than Caucasian men, which lends them to faster speeds, etc. right? This is a genetic wiring thing. It has nothing to do with preference or segregation or anything else.
Science.
It's
Yeah.
genetic,
No.
right? There's a tendency for larger hearts, which give larger oxygenation rates
Right.
in Caucasian men, which lends itself to the Michael Phelpses of the world
Right.
and the Lance Armstrongs of the world, right?
Right.
Which is why you see more Caucasian people dominating in those sports.
Sure.
So there are genetic differences that have nothing to do with our situations.
Right.
Yeah.
So, would that be? Would it be safe to say then that equality isn't always our goal?
Well, then does everyone have the
I
same?
don't know if I don't think it's that equality isn't the goal. I think that there's times where equality simply can't be.
Right.
So
you
then,
know,
I guess to rephrase or add to that, to rephrase my question, then, are we putting too much energy into equality being our sole goal?
Right, because basically,
I think we are.
yeah, I think I agree with it.
Spoiler alert.
And I think the equality, sometimes the words getting out of the content, we'll have to, individual issue, have to more discuss it. Yeah, just like each individual group. So, how we're going to be, this group equal to that group. It's just kind of difficult to judging by that. We generalize it to say that we generalize that every woman is a good cook. You know what I mean? Yeah, so every
I've
man,
dated a few.
every man can play sport. You know what I mean?
right.
Every
Right.
Asian guy good with a computer. Kind of
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
So
That's the inherent problem with equality.
Right.
That's kind of where I'm leaning with everything. Is there's two things I'd like to talk to you guys about. Would be if you guys say that equality isn't equal because there is no such thing technically. Is that kind of where we're going with that? Like, you can't put even a big black male versus me on a basketball court. A small white male.
Right.
It's unequal. But we want to push towards the equality. So do I make him play on his knees? That isn't fair. So the nuance is there where if we go completely equal, there's unfair things to being fair.
But shouldn't
well, you can have equal opportunities.
Well, that's
And
what I'm
that's
saying.
where I
Yeah.
would go with that. Yes.
So the preface should be that you should be allowed to play basketball. Anyone who wants to
Right.
play basketball, right?
Right.
But the outcome's not going to be the same.
Right. So you should
So-
be prepared.
So let's say the NBA or something like this organization, right? Should a woman have the opportunity if they're good enough, right? But the reality is going to be that it's going to be very hard for them to compete at that level.
Right. They have to be able to compete and make the team just like anybody else.
Right.
But at the same time, do we offer that to them and then is that fair to offer it to them and then not take them at all? Because what happens when we offer it to them that 20 of them come to tryouts and we don't take a single one? So then
Then it
now we're
becomes
looking
a-
at discrimination.
Right.
So the slippery slope of discrimination and equality, that's kind of what I feel we're
Yeah.
leading to.
So that would be an example of where having these segregated groups could be appropriate, technically speaking, but it doesn't have to be a segregated group based on race or based on gender. It can be you're gonna play not even that. You're gonna play basketball against Joe because your body types are pretty much the same. You're not gonna play against
the team does try
Jake
to
because
team
he's
you up
taller
against
than you.
The
you see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it would be
They're not
where
gonna
there
put me
would
against
be
the center,
right. So in the same way that I guess MMA, I don't know anything about that sport. MMA has weight classes, right?
Right.
So theoretically speaking, are we now going to create a weight class for basketball and for football or for whatever? Do you see what I'm
That's a
saying?
good
There's
point.
a
yeah, that's a great point into the weight
Well,
class.
I was a basketball player too tall anyway. So
But then you have then when does it stop? Because then you go,
Exactly.
everyone's heart has to be as big as Michael Phelps to compete
Yeah.
with Michael
And-
Phelps. I mean, obviously
Exactly.
that you
The
can't.
same thing with the discrimination is when does it stop? When we're going to the grants, what you said.
good
kinda offhand,
segue.
but
Good
yeah,
segue.
we give out grants and
And
none of the
scholarships,
minorities get them, so we make minority grants, and now none of the white people can get those grants, and so the equality is that becoming more equal, or is that not doing its goal? When it comes to the actual, am I better than you at what I'm gonna do? So, leadership and all that. Are we progressing as a nation, or are we giving grants out to someone that's not quite as good as the other?
So it's more like equal opportunities.
Right.
And the right of everybody have equal opportunity to do what they want to do, or join equal opportunity to join this group.
That is that's a good segue to one more comment that we have. I want to address before we have to wrap up. Ooh, dang! They're bringing the heat. It's getting so hot. I wonder what they're gonna say. Stick around. Let's find out.
Phil and Derek's Restaurant and Jazz Bar, located in the midst of bustling Midtown in Houston. You'll find a laid-back atmosphere and an ambiance reminiscent of the comfort of your own living room, coupled with the flair, pizzazz, and glitz of live New York-style cabaret entertainment 7 nights a week. Phil and Derek's is not only the ideal restaurant with a great long-standing wine selection, but also with a full bar as well. Phil and Derek's stock and knowledge of wines from France, Spain, Argentina, and more, just to name a few, are the envy of wine connoisseurs far and wide. Phil and Derek's Sunday Brunch was voted best morning after brunch for 3 consecutive years. Come indulge in the ample buffet of omelets, meats, various salads, $3 mimosa carafes, and much, much more. Enjoy delicious foods from the kitchen until midnight. We're equipped with large dining areas, ideal for groups up to 20 in size, whether business or pleasure. Come see all that Phil and Derek's has to offer.
That's a good segue to one more comment that we have. I want to address before we have to wrap up. Another regular contributor to the group. Nathan says, in order to congregate, this means people from different groups, regardless if they segregate or not, will be needed at the table for representation. Other than that, if you don't like the way a certain group operates, don't join them. So,
freedom not doing it.
the freedom not to do it.
Yeah, freedom to do it, freedom not to do it.
This is an interesting thing here, because this is another angle to the conversation for me when we had, for instance, like the cake baker in Colorado, right? Right.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know if they're aware of the.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So there was a guy that made a cake, but he wouldn't make it for it was like a gay couple, right?
Yes.
Christian Baker would make the gay couple.
And he said that the cake was his art, his expression of speech, and he didn't want to be forced into a situation of having to make speech that he didn't agree with, right? That was in essence his argument, right? And it went to the Supreme Court, and he won on a certain, he won that case. They're trying to take it on a different angle, so who knows? But he won the case. And so it's similar to this to me, in that the market, I think, has the opportunity to correct however it wants to. So as a society, we get to say what we accept or don't accept. And
by segregating yourself.
Right, and by segregating yourself, you're excluding yourself in a way that if society doesn't like enough, and then it just won't succeed. Mm-hmm. So if you're trying to form the short, bald-headed, white male vest wearers group, you just may have a problem getting enough members to do anything, right?
Well, but you have the equal rights to do it.
But I can do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, the cake. All right. So the cake one is, I think, a really interesting example, right? Because it brings a couple points. One, I believe as a small business owner and entrepreneur that you shouldn't have to do anything that you don't want to do business-wise, right? Mm-hmm. But you're going, so for that example, I think that if he didn't want to make that cake, he didn't have to make that cake, right? You have the right to refuse service to people, I believe. However, the blowback from that is going to be that it caught national news. Sure. He's going to look like a jerk, an asshole, or whatever you want to say. He's going to get a lot of negative attention. It's going to affect his business. So he made a decision that maybe he thought was his ethical choice. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, if his business suffers because it's
That's a
there's
popular opinion. You know what I mean? To become
Yeah, it may
interfere,
make
yeah.
his business even better.
Right.
he got a
Like
lot
what
of
you
press
said.
actually.
Like what you said when you said you stopped serving men as much as women, and all the men came, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then where do you draw the line though? Because then let's say you have a business and you go, no colored folks allowed. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
then obviously,
That's a good
right?
hard statement, yeah.
well, that is illegal. You know.
Right.
So it is what the cake baker did illegal. Like, it was why it's in court, right?
Mhm.
It's a constitution,
Right.
Comes down to
Well, I
negative
think
versus
that
positive,
there's it's one thing to say that you have a niche that you predominantly serve this niche, and it's another thing to say I refuse service for the sake of
to that niche.
the skin color or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I mean, I'm in other words, I'm agreeing with you that when does it stop? But I think that it's very much like I choose to work with women, but I'm not going to refuse working with men solely because they're men. I'm going to refuse to work with this man because his business doesn't fit what I do and my skill set, and I'm not going to be able to serve him to the best of my ability.
Right.
But I'm not going to refuse serving him because he's a man. So I think that it's all about kind of, I guess, the intention behind what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Or if you just refused without saying why.
And that's only, is that only legal in some states?
What?
Like I know that you can hire
right
and
to
fire
refuse?
at will, but can you
That's
do
here in
service
Texas.
with or without at will? Is that the same thing?
I'm not 100%.
I don't know. I know as a bar. I know
Right
as
to
a
refuse service does it for many reasons, but then there's discrimination laws.
Yeah, there's
Right.
a-
Okay, that's what I was
intersect
thinking.
Those.
That's what I was thinking.
Right,
It's like
so
you can't.
you
In
can't-
some places, you
because
can't
someone's black,
just
you can't
refuse.
refuse.
Well, but
just
then
because they're
some
black.
business they say they have a right to refuse, and when they operate in a bid, refuse any people they don't want to serve.
Without
Right.
shoes on.
So
With
this is
shoes
the
on serve.
Sure.
right,
Yeah.
like
Well,
a freedom.
So there's
of,
just like
speech.
there's like small laws that like
The
inhabit.
discrimination laws is that's what
Okay,
those laws
that's what
are
I didn't know
for.
the answer to that.
I
That's
think
why.
are you
So-
lying of a prejudice, or you lying just as you know what I mean? I guess that's the thin line where you're working on now.
This is so crazy. It's just amazing how much
Oh my
time
goodness.
flies
Ah,
by.
I never even got
But
the
it's a
second-
hot topic.
Second question.
It's a hot
Yes. There's so much good stuff here, and if you guys would like to continue the conversation, we'll hang out and we're gonna keep chatting after the show's over.
We always do.
But be sure to hop into the group and join the conversation, because this conversation is happening in the Art of Dispute group on Facebook. This conversation and a whole bunch of others. Well, another great show, guys. We appreciate y'all tuning in as always. Big round of applause to our guests and our sponsors. You guys make sure you find us on
our sponsor.
YouTube and Instagram. We are the Art of Dispute. You just type that in anywhere, you'll find us. But make sure you follow us on YouTube and
Google.
Instagram for exclusive interviews with our guests on Instagram and YouTube. Our musicians are on YouTube. Our artists are on Instagram.
New thing, really
New
excited.
thing. So
really
we're excited. So make sure you follow us on those channels for those exclusive interviews. And we'll see you guys
Heyo.
next week. Jonathan, take us away. Be hilarious.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Jonathan Fleissner. Jonathan is a Hebrew name, which most people know. Fleissner is a German name, which most people can guess. What's interesting, though, is if you translate on Google what Fleissner means, it comes out to oven dodger, and I just find that to be a little bit messed up. So I've been doing this comedy thing for a minute now, and I'm enjoying it. I pretty much only think about quitting every time I'm done performing, so that's going great. Like everybody else, I'm trying to lose weight with my New Year's resolution. There's really a couple ways of doing that. The most popular is dieting. In 2019, the most popular diet is veganism, which always works because it tastes horrible, and so you just don't eat anything. The other popular form of losing weight is exercise. I have a problem with that because it's just not very much fun, and I find it pretty boring. So I had to find something that was interesting to me, and I got it really into Krav Maga, which, if you're not familiar with that, that's where you pay 4 Hebrews to kick the crap out of you for 45 minutes. And if you do that every week, you're guaranteed to lose some weight. So it's going well. Most people don't think that I need to lose weight because I live in Houston. And I look perfectly average, but every time I go to San Francisco, you can really tell that I'm from the South, so I'm working on that. Another thing is that I'm cutting beer out of my diet because, a lot of calories in beer. So I've go to this new low-calorie beer that's really working for me, and it's called Straight Tequila, and I'm enjoying that. So dieting's going well. Another thing that I'm really trying to work on this year is my punctuality and just being more on time places. I'm constantly late everywhere I go, and it's beginning to be a problem. And I always give excuses for why I'm late, like there was a lot of traffic, or I got lost, or my grandfather's anus prolapsed. But in reality, the truth is that 99% of the time I'm late because I'm masturbating. And so I'm just trying to get that under wraps as well. All right, thank you guys.
Yes,
Oh,
man. That was freaking hilarious.
Another great one in the books.
First time comedian ever on the show. Jonathan killed it.
I could not keep myself quiet behind the
I
camera.
know. There was a lot of snickering behind the scenes.
I had to leave out.
Yes. Fun show. Great topic. Really enjoyed it. We're going to see you guys here back next week.